environmental management of toxic elements, toxic chemicals. Uh, the most important thing that is now left is the incineration. Okay, incineration or incinerator. As I have told to you, chemical waste. Okay, chemical waste that is generated. That chemical waste need to be disposed of properly. If that chemical waste is not disposed of properly, then it could be fatal or dangerous to human beings as well as to the environment. It could cause dangerous effect, and this dangerous effect could not be seen, okay, in the near future, but definitely it is going to cause, or it is going to have its latent effect. And once those causes are happen, or those problems are happen, then you may not have any kind of solution to overcome that. So it is necessary for us to control the formation of waste in the industry as well as in the laboratory, in case, or there is a chance, or there is most of the probability that although we avoid to form any kind of chemical waste, but there is still some amount or some quantity of the chemical waste generates, and this waste generated must be disposed of properly, otherwise the consequences of the same, or the consequences of it, could be dangerous. Okay, so where does this chemical waste is disposed of? As in the previous lecture we discussed about classification and segregation. Chemical waste as classified can be segregated and can be disposed of in many such systems. For example, whatever the household that is created or generated every day, that household garbage or that household waste that is generated at home, where do we put it? We just put it onto the garbage which is allotted to throw that garbage. Okay, so there is a place, what we call this place as a garbage, where only this household waste is thrown out. Okay, so that place, what we call, is a place where we can dispose the garbage that is generated at home. So such is the place is there available for disposing of chemical waste. That place we call this as a landfill area. Okay, landfill area. So landfill area is a place which is reserved, only reserved for throwing out the chemical waste for disposal purpose. Similarly, there are few things. Okay, there are few what we say machineries that may be available, and with the help of this machinery we could dispose of the chemical waste also. And one of the method is known as the incineration method. Okay, incineration is one of the method by means of which the chemical waste which is generated could be combusted directly. Okay, combustion process is directly carried in the machine called as incinerator. Okay, incinerator is one kind of machine. Incinerator is one kind of machine by means of which we could combust, or we could put all the chemical waste that has been generated to what we call the combustion process. So incineration of a hazardous chemical, that is the article that we are going to see today. What it means, incineration, and what is a incinerator. Okay, an incinerator is what we call a enclosed device, one kind of device or one kind of machine is there, in which what we do, we subject all the chemical waste accordingly and then put to combustion process. So all the chemical waste break down thermally, break down thermally into what we call the end product, and that end product is nothing but the ash. That means with the help of incinerator, or it is a device, or it is one kind of machine with the help of which any of the chemical waste which has been generated wherever it may be, it may be in the industry or it may be in the laboratory, that waste is directly combusted or subjected to the combustion process, so that due to thermal heat, that organic or chemical waste break down finally into the end product. That end product is the ash. Okay, that end product is the ash. So this incinerator meant for, okay, this device incineration, or sorry, this device incinerator, okay, incineration is a process, incinerator is a device. Okay, incinerator is a device, incineration is a process. So incinerator is a device. We can say this device may not be available in all of the industries sometimes. Okay, but there may be a place, or there may be some commercial incinerator available where we have to take away all of the chemical waste that has been generated in the industry or in the what we say laboratory. So this waste has to be transported from that place to the incinerator, or the commercial incinerator. So that means that we have to transport that chemical waste. And regarding that, we have seen in the previous lecture that how we are going to classify the chemicals and how we are going to segregate the chemicals also. Okay, so incinerator is a machine, is a device that may be not available with the laboratory or may not be available with the industry. So in that situation or in that circumstances, what we have to do, we have to transport the generated chemical waste from our laboratory site to the place, or to the place of where there is a commercial incinerator. So that similarly in municipal corporation, most of the municipal corporations also have incinerator machines or incinerator device, but that incinerator device that is operated by the municipal corporation are meant to burn or combust the household waste that has been generated continuously at homes. Okay, but we cannot use that incinerator machine, the same incinerator machine that is available with the municipal corporation, to combust all of the chemical waste that has been generated in the laboratory, because there is a mechanism, there is different mechanism. The machine which is available with the municipal corporation is meant to what we say combust all of the household waste, but the incineration machine or incinerator device which is meant for combusting chemical waste is something different, and that we have to take care of. Okay, that almost we have to take care of, that this incinerator machine is a different, okay, household garbage which is to be cleaned up or which is to be combusted is a different incinerator machine than a machine which is meant only for decomposing or combustion of most of the chemical waste. So here you have to be careful, because you might in future hear about the incinerator which may be available with the municipal corporation. So the same machine can we be employ for the combustion of chemical waste? No, we couldn't be able to do it, so because the incinerator machine is so equipped, it must be so equipped, it may be so specific only for degradation or decomposition of chemical waste only. Okay, such machine should be used only for decomposing the chemical waste. Okay, we should not rely on, or we should not take care of the machine which is available with the municipal corporation. So with respect to all these things, with respect to the incineration process, it is directly subjected, or the chemical waste is directly subjected to the combustion process. The end product is ash. Okay, and that this ash may be harmless. Sometimes this ash which is generated as an end product may be harmless, but sometimes this ash generated of a chemical waste or ash generated by combustion of a chemical may not be may be harmful or may not be harmful, depending upon that. Okay, depending upon that, and at the same time, this incineration machine, okay, incineration machine or incinerator may not be available with industry or may not be available with the laboratory. Okay, they may not they have to transport the chemical waste which is generated from one place to a commercial incinerator place where it is installed. So during that, we need to transport this chemical. That means disposing of chemical by means of incineration. Okay, disposing of certain chemical waste by incineration process, it means that it does have some advantage as well as some disadvantage. Okay, you might have understood now what is incineration process. Incineration is just a incinerator is just a device by means of which chemical waste could be decomposed of thermally. Okay, thermally, decomposition of chemical waste thermally, and the end product is happen to be ash. But at the same time, we must have to think about that the chemical waste, okay, chemical waste that we are subjecting to the disposal purpose by means of incineration process may be having some advantages, at the same time some disadvantages. Okay, so what are the advantages? What are the advantages that this incineration of hazardous chemical do have, and what are the disadvantages that incineration of hazardous chemical do have? That we have to just we have to think it off. Okay, so what are the advantages of incineration, or what are the advantages of incinerator device? Okay, the first one is the waste. Okay, whatever the chemical waste that we that is generated in the laboratory or in the industry may be giving out at the end of incineration process a harmless product. And what is that harmless product? Ash. Okay, ash, ash is the harmless product. But this ash so formed may be harmful or may not be harmful, because suppose we have got some of the remaining some quantity of sodium cyanide. Okay, sodium cyanide, and this sodium cyanide or potassium cyanide, we subject it directly to the incineration process. What could be the chance? What could be the chance that the harmless ash may be producing? Okay, you cannot predict, because you are directly subjecting such chemical which is highly toxic to the incineration process, and you are thinking that there should be a harmless product only, that may be ash only. Okay, so this we may think, but when any such chemical, when it is subjected to what we say thermal decomposition, then in that case the ash may not be harmless. Instead of that, it could be poisonous, or some gases may be released. Some kind of gases may be released during incineration process. Although we think that, okay, this incineration by means of incineration process, what we are going to get as an end product is the harmless ash. Okay, harmless ash. So we think that, we suppose that this harmless ash is produced as an incineration product, and this may cause no danger to the environment. So this we think. Okay. And the next point is there is no commitment to long-term containment of hazardous material. What does it mean? Okay, what does it mean? Whenever we subject any chemical waste to incineration process, what happened? Due to combustion, all of the chemical waste is converted into ash. Okay, this is the case with the incineration. But when we throw the same chemical waste onto some landfill area, what happened? That chemical waste remains there for a longer period of time. Okay, that chemical waste does remain there for a longer period of time. So we would say that there we have to be committed. That means it must be committed that this chemical waste remains there for a longer period of time. But this doesn't happen when we subject the same chemical waste to the incineration process, because due to combustion, all of the chemical waste is converted into harmless ash. So there is no long-term commitment that chemical waste remain as it does in the landfill on the landfill area, because it may remain continuously for a period of time until it get naturally decomposed. But here in the incinerator, we are directly subjecting the chemical waste for the decomposition, and that's why there is no long-term commitment as that with the landfill area. Okay, so this is the case. Similarly, the third point. Okay, third point. What it does mean? Release of containment as a consequence of contaminant as a consequence of malfunction can be corrected quickly and inexpensively. What does it means? It does means that, you know, most of the chemical waste which has been thrown onto the landfill area, that this chemical may percolate into the land, okay, percolate into the soil, and in the process what happened, that area around that landfill area in the process becomes infertile. So this may happen, the land becomes infertile because whatever the chemical waste we are throwing onto the landfill area may make or may be converted into what we say infertile area, infertile land, or the land may be converted into infertile. Okay, no grass, no something, no leaves or no biomass would be there around, because this land has been completely converted into infertile due to the chemical waste that we are continuously throwing onto the landfill area. But such thing may not happen when we subject the chemical waste to the incineration process, because it is a direct process by means of which chemical waste are generated. The chemical waste which is generated is at once get rid of by means of combustion process. So here the disadvantage of landfill area. What are those disadvantage of landfill area? Because there may be a long-term commitment, because the chemical waste remains there for a longer period of time until it get naturally decomposed. Similarly, some chemical waste have a tendency to infiltrate into the soil, and in the process what happened, the particular land or the land around the landfill area get infertile. Okay, there would not grow any kind of biomass there. That means the land becomes infertile. So this is the case that happens whenever we throw a chemical waste onto the landfill area, but this does not happen with respect to incinerator. Okay, so these are the three different advantages that we can say. Similarly, the fourth advantage, incinerator handle most of the reactive waste, okay, prohibited from landfill. That means onto the landfill there is a restriction on us what kind of chemical that we have to throw onto the landfill area, because as already I have told, the land could become infertile if we continuously throw the same kind of chemical over there. The land becomes infertile, but there is no as such restriction to decompose of a chemical waste by means of incineration. Okay, so there is no prohibition or there is no restriction for us to what chemical can be decomposed of by means of or can be combusted of by means of incineration process. So there is no as such prohibition or what we say restriction for us to decompose of by means of incineration. So these are the few advantages. These are the few advantages of incineration process. There may be many more advantages of incineration process. At the same time, the incineration process may have disadvantages also. So as we have seen advantages, similarly there may be some disadvantages as well. What are those disadvantages? Okay, what are those disadvantages? You can see here, a costly test burn procedure may be required. Okay, some procedure may be required to what we say to carry out the process of incineration. Some procedure, okay, some procedure that we have to take into care for burning out some chemical process, okay, chemical waste. The cost test burn procedure may be required to obtain a permit for hazardous waste incinerator. So that is why what we require a permit for having the hazardous waste incinerator in the laboratory or in the industry. That means if any industry or any what we say laboratory want to purchase this hazardous waste incinerator, then they may need some kind of permit for that, and when they get the permit, then and then only they can purchase for them the hazardous waste incinerator. Okay, and what kind of chemical waste that is generated continuously in the laboratory, that also have to be mentioned. Depending upon that, the hazardous waste incinerator can be obtained. Similarly, all this, you cannot say that one hazardous waste incinerator can be unique or can be universal. You cannot mean that one and only one hazardous waste incinerator can burn all kind of chemical waste. Chemical waste. This is not the case. There may be a chance that incinerator may be specific for particular chemical. Okay, specific means specific incinerator may allow the specific type of chemical waste. We cannot use the same incinerator for decomposing or disposing of all the chemical waste. So specific chemical waste incinerator may be available. There may be available. It may not be available with all what we say the universal incinerator. Universal incinerator means all the waste, all the chemical waste, whatever kind of chemical waste that is generated may be subjected to the incineration process, and the combustion may takes place. Okay, this may not be the case because a specific type of incinerator may be available, and that's why what we say that different types of chemical waste that is may be generated in the chemical laboratory. For each type of chemical waste, we have to have in the laboratory a specific incinerator. So this is the disadvantage what we could say. Okay, so universal type of incinerator may not be available, in which all of the chemical waste can be let in and decomposed of all that and convert it into harmless ash. This is not the case because for each individual type of chemical waste, specific incinerator has to be adopted. Otherwise, a common or what we say universal incinerator cannot be made available. So that is the disadvantages. That is one kind of disadvantage. Similarly, incinerator equipment is highly expensive to purchase as well as to maintain it, because whenever some kind of problem occur, whenever any industry have already purchased an incinerator, and if any damage or any kind of machinery fault occurs, then in that case maintenance problem is also there, or it may have high maintenance. Okay, it may have high maintenance. So that's why the incineration process is a little expensive as compared to throwing out the chemical waste onto the landfill area. Okay, so incinerator, that means we have to purchase. We have to purchase means we have to spend some amount, and similarly we have to maintain it also as required. The third point you can see here. What you can see, due to incineration process, what happened? There is a release of carbon dioxide. Okay, as you know that incineration, that means combustion process. Combustion process, the end product is carbon dioxide. End product is carbon dioxide. That means incineration process or combustion process occur in presence of oxygen. That means oxidation of chemical waste takes place, and the final waste or the final pollutant that releases after the oxidation process is the carbon dioxide. Okay, carbon dioxide is a harmful pollutant, and that get released directly into the atmosphere. So this is the problem again. Okay, this is the problem again. So due to incineration process, carbon dioxide, a pollutant, is released into the atmosphere. Okay, so this is again one disadvantage of incineration process. Now next point is what we say a secure landfill. That means a landfill area where all of the chemical waste can be directly thrown away, may be easily accessible than what we say the commercial incinerator, because the commercial incinerator may be long away from the laboratories. So in that case, what we say chemical waste that is to be thrown directly into the landfill area is easily accessible as compared to commercial incinerator, which may be long distance away from industry. Similarly, at the same time, we have to think about the chemical diversity also. Okay, chemicals are of different types, as already I have stated. So specific type of incinerator must have to be made available for disposing of one type of chemical. So this is again a case because of the chemical diversity. Okay, and the last point is the ash from a hazardous waste incinerator must have to again dispose of, where it should be disposed of onto the landfill area again. That means the ash which is generated due to incineration process is again have to be thrown onto the landfill area. So this is again a disadvantage of incinerator, because the ash which is produced by incineration process, where we have to throw that, where we can keep it. Instead of that, only what we have to do it, we have to again dispose of the ash which is generated due to incineration, and where we dispose of it, onto the landfill area. So we would say that incineration process is having this disadvantage again also. Sorry, this disadvantage. So there are few disadvantages and there are few advantages. So we have to consider advantages as well as disadvantage. Depending upon that, we have to purchase, or any laboratory or industry purchase this incinerator for their sake, for their convenience. Okay, so this is here we finish what this incineration process, or the incineration